Hello my lovelies, and welcome back to Sandra Tarot. If you're new here, hi, hello, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. This is your new moon in Virgo reading for the 14th of September. Of course, new moon, same as the full moon, is good for 3 days. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th of September. We'll be using the Energy and Spirit Oracle by Sandra and Taylor. As you can see, I do have your cards out on the table. And before I get into the reading, I'm going to go over a little bit of astrology. If you would rather skip that part, please look in the description box down below. You can fast forward to the actual reading. Alright, new moon in Virgo. Yes, this is about new jobs, schedules, projects, routines. However, Mercury does go direct in Virgo on the 15th. So that changes things slightly. There's a little bit of shifting energy. It's fluctuating enough that sometimes you're able to move and sometimes you're not. Of course, Mercury going direct doesn't mean that the energy is freely flowing. There's a 2-week post-shadow period that we all have. Plus, there is several other planets still in retrograde. So there's still plenty of resistant energy going around. And with that, let's jump into your reading. And thank you so much for those that are now rejoining the rest of us for the reading. We're going to start on our very first column here. This is the energy that's working for us. In other words, what things are being highlighted and boosted for us, what assistance do we have, is all going to be in this very first column. So let's see what we have here. We have phase entanglement, emotional influence, elementals, nature spirits, the 4 elements, soulful appreciation, heartfelt gratitude, thought vibrations, resonant choices, signature signals. And our last card for this column, family tree, expansion, legacy. Okay. When it comes to our emotional state, for better or for worse, this is being stimulated. And for a good reason. Highlighting the positive, which is on one side of the spectrum, and then highlighting the negative on the opposite side of the spectrum. And this can be a kind of a roadmap for you as to where you need to go. And it's funny because they're giving me nature spirits rather than the 4 elements with our elemental card. So for those that have connections to, say, actual elementals, those that do connection work with water spirits or forest spirits, dryads, fairies, what have you, don't be surprised if you don't get some assistance from them. It's interesting that is coming up. That's kind of a first for me for using this deck, but there it is. And as well with nature spirits, I also want to say spirit guides as well. Nope, hold on. They're highlighting something for me. You probably may not be able to see it. There are little lights, like floating orbs in the back of this card. They're actually highlighting it for me. Nature spirits, so maybe even loved ones that have passed away are helping from the beyond. Maybe not your ancestors, maybe not your spirit guides, but those that have crossed the veil may actually be assisting you this month and helping you get your life in order, helping you where you need to go. Whether that is helping to stimulate certain emotions to help you, or bringing you signs and synchronicities. Granted, if you see any signs, synchronicities, especially if they're from dead loved ones, you know, spirit team, of course, yes, express your gratitude for the guidance as it comes up if you are able to pick up on who that's coming from. If nothing else, just politely say thank you. Even a generic thank you goes quite a long ways. You'd be surprised, and when you give out positive energy like that, just as a simple thank you, the only thing you really sacrifice is your ego. It doesn't cost you anything more than that to give it. And of course, if you do work with certain spirits, fairies, elementals, yes, we do make offerings, gifts. There is an exchange in that relationship oftentimes in order to maintain and build trust and have a fruitful relationship with that. So please remember to show gratitude in the appropriate manner, as it were, if you were receiving assistance. And all this area is, for this month, is about your future. Future happiness, future life, future job, future money situation, who you are, who you want to be, where you're going, what you would like your life to look like. Utopian life. I'm getting the word utopia. Whatever that means to you, whatever it is, the top tier, most outstanding life that you would like to try and emulate, enjoy, and manifest for yourself. This is what they're trying to highlight for you on this particular month. Is yes, you try to get your shit together and you get a boost along the way from others. So be aware of your emotional state, both positive and negative. Your emotions exist for a reason. They're indicators of things that are good, positive, and in the flow, heading in the right direction. And then on the opposite end being things negative, wrong, out of sync, and the wrong direction to go. So please pay attention to both ends. Don't just feed into the positive. Beware of both. Because some of your signs and synchronicities, some of the messages you might be receiving, some of the guidance you might be getting is where not to go, where you made mistakes, where the bad choices were, where you're not seeing any growth, where you've been stalemated and roadblocked. And it's not just that it's temporary, it's just that it's playing out the wrong way to go, so they're closing down the road. So trying to drive through it is probably not the best option. So yes, positive, negative emotions. Be aware of both. Let me make sure there's nothing else here before we move on. Okay, we're going to have to pick this card up. Hold on just a sec. They're actually highlighting what looks to be like almost like a gear inside this human head. I mean, there's the nebula galaxy in here with stars, but it looks almost like a gear. So be aware of random ideas, little insights, downloads that you may not be aware you're getting. So if you have a good thought, whether it's something that you should or should not pay attention to, remember that, or at least try to. If nothing else, write it down so you don't forget it. Sometimes the littlest things are the most important. So don't let that small, nitpicky idea that pops into your head for a second be something that you just kind of be like, oh, yeah, and you forget it. It's in one ear, out the other, and you do nothing with it. Sometimes those are the most important things, so pay attention to some of the ideas in your thought process, some of the random things that come up. Whether that is your subconscious mind trying to communicate with you, or if that is a download that you're receiving and you may not just recognize it as a download with all the retrograde energy Sometimes there's moments, and I covered part of this in the astrology intro I did. Sometimes there's moments where you're able to have free and clear energy, make good progress. There's moments of clarity, all that good jazz. And then all of a sudden it's like somebody hit the off switch and everything's cloudy again. And you're meeting resistance at every step. And that's just all the retrograde planets. It's kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's over here, and then it's over there. So sometimes that can get lost when you have a random idea. It's just like a little blip on a radar and then it's gone. So focus on those ideas long enough to write them down if you need to. And simply the reason for that is that those ideas are actually going to help you resonate with the right path, the right choices, and be beneficial to you. Like I said, sometimes the smallest things are the most important. And now we're going to move on to our resistance position, our energy that's working against you. We have the Archangel Phanuel here, hope, optimism, and new beginnings. Okay. And with all emotions, like I said, positive and negative that you need to pay attention to, with that comes resistance to optimism. Sometimes we get a little down on ourselves. Sometimes we beat ourselves up, especially if we are rehashing things where we missed an opportunity, if we made a mistake. If we feel like we've said or done something incorrect, or let our ego win, sometimes that will bring on that defeatist attitude and make it hard to hold out hope for the future. Make it hard to begin again or try again or to make another choice, to, be optimistic. Instead, we lean more towards cynicism or pessimism. And that's not always a good thing. Yes, being aware of what your negative emotions are, what they're saying, what they're trying to tell you is good. But as the emotions come up, it's best to identify them, ask why they're there, and deal with the correct response rather than stay in that energy and just embody the energy without analyzing it and moving forward. So if we get stuck in an energy, we start to spiral. And of course, when we do that, all sorts of other things happen, and we can unintentionally manifest the wrong things. We can sometimes attract the wrong things, and we get lost, we get confused even more, and we don't pick a more positive direction. We end up staying either where we're at, totally stuck, or we spiral further downward and go completely in the wrong direction. So, beware of the emotions, both positive and negative. Acknowledge your emotions, yes, but don't embody them so much that you're living in the now with that emotion from the past, or you're stuck on one channel. Think of your emotions as all your cable channels. You can scroll through them, click on the next channel, but don't get stuck on one particular emotion for too long. You probably won't enjoy that. Also, with this being our resistance position, yes, we have a lot of planets still in retrograde. And with that comes naturally a lot of resistance, a lot of things where we're having to deal with our own illusions and those breaking. We're having to deal with communication issues, even though Mercury will be going direct. There's still the post period. So it's not full on free energy. It's still fluctuating a lot, and there's a lot of resistance still there. So getting things done sometimes can still be difficult. Getting things started sometimes can still be difficult. So if you've got energy and you're allowed to move, yes, use it to the best of your ability while you got it. Pick that up and run with it as fast as you can. All right, and we're going to move right on to our outcome. currents of emotion, uncontrolled feelings, sensitivity and strength, tapping the forces within, letting go of urgency, surrender, freedom from time constraints. Okay, and then we have prophets and ancient seers, decisions, predictive guidance, and then prosperity, abundance, success. I really feel like saying with this, sometimes you really have to dig through some crap, some bullshit, some, heavy emotions. You have to dig through the trauma. You have to dig deep under a pile of garbage for the gold, for the good things, for the good stuff, for, happiness. If the road to happiness, success, money, abundance, prosperity were really easy to obtain, we'd all have it. And because we have so many planets still in retrograde, yes, as I keep on saying, your emotions are there to guide you, both positive and negative, but they're fluctuating too, just as much as the energy being free-flowing versus resistance. And that can be turbulent, that can be confusing. And yes, sometimes you're going to feel like you're uncontrolled. Or being, tugged at, being played with. In a way that also causes you to tap into your reserves to deal with it. That way you don't give in to lashing out. That way you don't give in to frustration. That way you don't give in to the energy and go, you know what, I quit. I walk away, I quit. So beware of your emotions getting the best of you and wanting to walk away. But the good news is that when we do tap into our reserves, when we do tap into our core and who we truly are, where our strength actually is, if we're a pretty level-headed or grounded individual normally outside of retrogrades, or if we have that really strong sense of self or strength of will, this becomes easier, much easier to contend with. And for others that maybe don't resonate with that feeling, you don't realize how strong you are. Most of us don't realize how strong we are until we're tested. We only find the limits of what we're capable of when there's pressure, when there's a force of change, when a lot of people would give up and yet we persist. And yes, sometimes with uncomfortable things, we just have to let it go and move with it. Hence why I brought up the frustration. Yes, we need to tap into our reserves and deal with some chaotic energy and not being able to move forward the way we want to, or having issues crop up. Like I said, Mercury's still in retrograde. It does go direct, but there's that post-shadow period. A lot of us are probably tired of that energy, want to get out of that energy, don't want to deal with any drama for your llama, any technical errors or anything that typically comes up with Mercury retrograde for a lot of us. But sometimes you just really have to just surrender and go with the energy and stick it out, tough it out, and make the best decisions you can. And of course, back to our energy working for you here. If you're paying attention to where you are on that emotional scale and your downloads, the guidance that you're getting, those signs and synchronicities, if you're identifying where the troubled areas are and trying to tackle them, or finding out where the positive areas are and leaning more towards into those, you're going to have an easier time knowing which side of the spectrum is which and what decisions you need to make ultimately. Oh, that's hilarious. They're actually pointing out the orbs, the lights coming out of this cauldron on this card. Ties back into our elemental card we had back here, the nature spirits that had all the orbs. They're in both cards. There, 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 there. And then there's a whole bunch coming out of the cauldron. Interesting. So especially when it comes to, getting those downloads, the sign synchronicities, those are probably items that are going to help you make the right decisions, make the right choices for your own happiness, for your own betterment, for your own self-growth. And interesting enough, there is like shimmers of the yellow brick road that you see on here, but my ancestors are not pointing it out in this card. They're just pointing it to the nature spirits and this card over here. Interesting. Let me make sure that there's nothing else here that I need to point out. Oh, okay. That's interesting. There's actually a desk here, and it's got a stack of papers, an hourglass, but it has a laptop, and it's got a whole bunch of post-it notes on it, a whole bunch of sticky notes. Remember I said if you have an idea before it goes in one ear and out the other, or, whether that's your subconscious or a download, write it down. Save it. Reminders right here. Reminders. Remind yourself. So if you're not able to do anything with it currently, write it down. Save it. Save it for later. That way, when the time comes where you can act on it, you've got it. You've got the reminder. You have the note. You wrote it down. It'll be easier to remember. That way you can use it for later whenever you are capable of doing so. So some areas you're probably going to be able to act and make choices, decisions, and move forward on. But because the energy is off and on, off and on, off and on, there's going to be other areas where you're going to get an idea and be able to plan it out, but you're not able to actually go from the idea planning stage and then the action stage. Instead, you've got the idea, the planning, and then all of a sudden the energy goes off and you're roadblocked. So while things fluctuate, you've got that at least grace period where you've got the idea and you can make your roadmap, you can plan it all out and get prepped. Everybody grows in different ways. And you don't grow in a linear motion. It's not like a straight line. We grow spherically. Not as in a circle, but actually in a ball, an actual ball. We grow in many different directions all at once. And when we try to reshape our life, which is what this energy is getting your stuff in order, getting your life in order, sometimes we're able to move really far in one direction, but the other direction where we need to go can only be utilized up to a certain point. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. So go as far as you can in whatever directions you need to move in at the time you're able to move. And if you meet resistance and you're only able to go in a certain direction so far, remember to come back later and pick that up and move further. And that's going to be in different areas for all of you. Some of you will go headlong into love and you'll have no resistance whatsoever. But when it comes to your career, it's like you take 2 steps and you get 1 step backward. You're not able to move forward. Whereas others, you're moving headlong into your career and your life purpose, but your love life feels like somebody sucker punched you in the gut. So please take the areas where you're going to see growth and resonancy as they come up, because that's going to fluctuate and vary for everyone. And because the energy, yes, as I said repeatedly, is in a flux state, you kind of have to go with what you're able to go with. And where you meet resistance, okay, fine, you meet resistance. Don't beat yourself up. Don't be hard on yourself if you can. Acknowledge it as the, okay, I want to persist, but I can't right now. So we'll go over here. We'll go someplace else. We'll go where I have no resistance in a different area. And I mentioned this before, that sometimes you have to go through a lot of garbage to get the gold. And when it comes to love, they're telling me sometimes you have to kiss a lot of frogs. Let me make sure there's nothing else here before I let you guys go. Nope, I do believe that is all. And for some of you, some of what your emotions are going to reveal is that you have a gold mine that you're literally sitting on. There is happiness, there is joy to be had. There is things that can grow and be fruitful for you that are more abundant and successful than you probably think they are. But like I said, you have to move a lot of dirt first. You have to deal with a lot of garbage and BS. Yes, maybe even kiss a couple of frogs first before you find it. But it's a work in progress. It's okay. You'll get there. Life is very much a journey, not a destination. And as much as we have typically a destination in mind, it's a constant, ongoing thing. And right now, this is just you working on you and trying to make the most of your life in a better way, a better format. So yes, try not to be pessimistic. If you can utilize the energy, great. If you meet resistance, okay, accept it. Pay attention to your emotional state, both positive and negative. That will help you navigate. Also, if you are receiving a guidance, go ahead and show appropriate gratitude for that. Don't forget it. Simply because certain spirits get angry when you don't. So that's why they're nudging me for that. Let's see what else. Oh, yes, and if you have any bright ideas, any downloads, any of that, remember to write them down. Use them when you need them. All right, my lovelies. I think I'm going to leave this here for the rest of the new moon reading. Let me know how this resonates for you. Go ahead and shout at me in the comment section down below. Or just give me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Feel free to share the video anywhere online. Truly appreciate those that do. That's one of the things that helps the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye.